Japanese Walt Disney, any movie you put out has sky-high expectations. Hey, that just happens to be the theme of The Wind Rises. With the Rotoscopers, and today I am reviewing The Wind Rises, which is a film by Studio Ghibli directed by Hayao Miyazaki. It was released last year in Japan and was released in February 2014 here in the United States. Oh, The Wind Rises. Wow. I loved The Wind Rises. Any Miyazaki movie, I mean, there's very high standards people are really excited for, and then you're kind of also wondering, like, what if he doesn't live up to it? What if this just isn't as good? Thankfully, that is not the case with this movie, so be prepared to love this movie. I mean, people are going to have it in their rankings of where it stands. Some people are going to say it's down here, other people are going to say it's up at the very top. But no matter who you ask, there is no doubt that this is a wonderful movie. So The Wind Rises tells the semi-fictional / biographical story of Jiro, a World War II plane designer for Japan. The movie starts out and we see him at a very young age, and from the very beginning, this was his dream. He loved airplanes, but he couldn't be a pilot because of his vision, and so the next best thing was, well, I'm going to design airplanes. And so eventually we transition to when he gets older and he begins working for Mitsubishi, and at the time the only contracts available are war contracts, and so he starts designing warplanes. So even though this movie is about mechanical stiff machines, the story itself is very emotional and very real. There's just quite a contrast between, you know, the subject matter of the airplanes and just how emotional this movie was. I mean, this is mature, it's emotional. I mean, I literally was crying in the movie multiple times. There was one point in the theater at the end credits that tears were streaming down my face, and I just sat there, and, you know, they had a very nice end credit sequence where it was just the text and then background sequences, very Japanese. And tears were streaming down my face, and I just sat there, and I needed to regain my composure before I went into the real world, because, whoa. One thing I noticed from the very beginning of the movie was the pacing. And this is completely different than American animation. The pacing was slow, it went at its own pace, it wasn't noisy or rambunctious, it was just very comfortable in itself and telling the story that it needed to tell. And there were a lot of really quiet moments where there wasn't chatty dialogue, like filling up, like, oh, we gotta talk back and forth, and then we're singing, it's like, no. It was very quiet, it was very serene, it was very serious. I mean, in real life, there are moments where you're just calm and collected and pensive. And that's what The Wind Rises was, and I liked that. It was a breath of fresh air, because so many animated films nowadays from all the studios, for the most part, are very noisy. And this gave the audience the chance to absorb the story without having to, like, stressfully catch up because you're just, like, moving so quickly from one plot point to another. We just gotta absorb it. Now, I know there are some out there who are upset about the subject matter because basically Jiro was creating warplanes that killed people in World War II. But you have to understand this from Miyazaki and Japan's perspective. This movie is a Japanese film by a Japanese studio, by a Japanese director, about Japanese history. Basically, this plane that Jiro invented for Japan was the only good thing that came out of World War II. It was the only thing that they could be proud of, was that they finally had caught up to the Germans technologically. This was huge, and you have to take it as that. You can't really go and look into more about what happened. You can't really take your own view on it. You just have to say, from Japan's point of view, how would they feel about this? And at the movie, no point do they discuss this theme of war, and there's no inner conflict with Jiro of like, oh, I'm creating war machines. Like, to him, because he was so excited about planes and creating planes and serving his country, that was the only thing he was thinking about. He was just excited that he was given the opportunity to serve, as many of us would, for our countries. With this, there's this theme of following your dreams despite the consequences, and Jiro followed his dreams like none else. He studied really hard, he became one of the most brilliant engineers, and he went up the ranks in his company. And he never really thought about the consequences. Now it's up to us to say, like, when we're following our dreams, should we take those consequences into account? And yes, obviously. So regarding the score, from the very first note, Joe Hisaishi's score stands out. It's simply lovely, expressive, rich, and has this unexpected Italian vibe to it. You know, there's accordions and guitars, and they carry the melodies, and they are the main melodies. And so this is very contrasting because you're watching a film that's set in Japan in the 1940s. You're kind of expecting something a little bit more traditionally Japanese. And I think the reason they did this is because Jiro idolizes an Italian aircraft maker named Caproni. And Caproni actually plays a big part in the movie through sort of like dream sequences. And so I think that that's just sort of that Italian vibe and vein plays through the movie because that's who he's idolizing and kind of going back to throughout the film. And you know, it was so unexpected, but really great. And it just added another unique element to this movie that just all together, when you put it together and you collectivize it, it's awesome, and it just really makes it stand out above the rest. Now, regarding the animation, beautiful. Crisp lines, vibrant colors, just very simple color palette, which you can expect from Miyazaki, but I loved it. It was really pretty, and I was just looking at it. It made me really miss traditional animation because they did it so brilliantly, and the 2D form, I don't know, it has a sense of personality and there's the connection with the audience that sometimes 3D animation doesn't have. And so as I was sitting there, I was just looking at these backgrounds and just the very simple animation, and I loved it. So The Wind Rises is a very unique animation cinematic experience for Americans. We're not used to this type of storytelling and pacing and animation really anymore, and it's just simply lovely. Really, it's one of Miyazaki's best works that expertly evokes emotion, like this raw emotion from the audience in a way that you really connect with the characters. Like Jiro, you care about him and his struggles, and some of the other characters. You feel for this guy, and you're just encapsulated in this story from the very beginning. So I give The Wind Rises 5 stars. It was so good. If you haven't seen it, be sure to go check it out. It's going to be coming out in DVD and Blu-ray in a little while, so make sure to buy it. I'll be doing a review of the Blu-ray when that comes out. But yes, The Wind Rises is a must-see 5 stars, one of the best animated films of the year. Alright guys, let me know in the comments below what you thought of The Wind Rises. It's been out about 2 months in the United States, so many of you have probably already seen it. Let me know what you thought. What did you like? What didn't you like? And be sure to thumbs up and subscribe for more reviews. Until next time, I'm Morgan, and this is the Rotoscopers YouTube. And then this right here, I have never seen this in an art book before, and it got me really excited. It's the complete English language script of The Wind